You open your banking app. It's a Tuesday. Nothing crazy happened this month. No emergencies, no big purchases, no vacations. You didn't buy new clothes. You didn't splurge on anything you'd call a luxury. And yet, you look at your balance and you feel that thing, that quiet, creeping panic. Where did it go? You made decent money this month. You should have something left over, but the number staring back at you doesn't lie. It's almost gone. Again. And the worst part? You can't even explain it. You scroll through your transactions trying to find the culprit. A crime scene with no obvious body. A few coffees here, a delivery order there. Some random charge you don't even recognize. Nothing that jumps out as the obvious villain. Nothing that screams, "This is why you're broke." Just a slow, quiet bleed. Dollar by dollar, day by day, until there's almost nothing left. If that sounds familiar, if you've had that exact moment of staring at your phone in quiet disbelief, then this video is for you. Not because I'm going to tell you to stop buying coffee. Not because I'm going to hand you a 47-step budget spreadsheet and tell you to track every single penny. I'm not going to lecture you. I'm not going to make you feel bad. I'm going to show you something that almost nobody talks about. The real reason your money keeps disappearing. And spoiler alert, it's not because you're bad with money. It's not because you're lazy or irresponsible. It's something far more subtle, far more psychological. And once you see it, you genuinely cannot unsee it. So let's start from the beginning. Imagine you have a bucket. Every month, someone fills that bucket with water. That's your income, your salary, your side hustle, whatever comes in. It fills the bucket. And your job, theoretically, is to keep some of that water. Save it, grow it, use it to build something. But here's what's actually happening. Your bucket has holes in it. Not one big hole. That would be easy to find. No. Your bucket has dozens of tiny little holes. So small you can barely see them. And every single one of those holes is draining a little water every day. A little here, a little there, and by the end of the month, you tilt the bucket and almost nothing comes out. That's the hidden expense problem. And it's happening to millions of people right now who consider themselves reasonably smart, reasonably responsible adults who simply cannot figure out why their savings account looks the way it does. Here's what most financial content won't tell you. The danger isn't the big purchases. Most people are actually pretty aware of big purchases. You know when you buy a new laptop? You know when you book a flight? You feel those, they register? But the small stuff, the $4.99 here, the $12 there, the $8.50 subscription you forgot you signed up for 3 months ago, those don't register. They're invisible. They slide right past your conscious brain like they don't even exist. And that's not an accident. That's psychology. Let me explain something about how your brain works with money, because this is genuinely fascinating, and it explains almost everything. Your brain has a threshold, a psychological limit below which it basically stops caring about a purchase. For most people, that threshold sits somewhere around $10 to $20. Below that number, your brain categorizes the purchase as basically free. Not literally free. You know it costs something, but emotionally, it doesn't trigger the same evaluation process that a $200 purchase would. Think about it. If someone told you your rent was going up by $300 a month, you'd feel that. You'd think about it. You'd maybe try to negotiate or look for alternatives. $300 a month is real money. It's a decision. But if a subscription goes from $9.99 to $12.99, you probably won't even notice. Your brain waves it through without a second thought. And this is exactly where the danger lives. There's a concept in behavioral economics called the pain of paying. Every time you spend money, there's a small psychological discomfort. It's why paying in cash actually feels more painful than swiping a card. The physical act of handing over bills makes the loss feel more real. But here's the thing. That pain scales with the amount. Big purchase, big pain. Small purchase, tiny pain. Almost no pain. And when something causes almost no pain, your brain doesn't bother to remember it. It doesn't file it away as significant. It just lets it go. Now, multiply that by 30 days. Multiply it by dozens of small transactions. None of them painful enough to stick in your memory. None of them significant enough to feel like a real spending decision. And suddenly, you've got a month worth of invisible money gone. Subscriptions are the perfect example of this. You sign up for something, let's say a streaming service. You use it for a few weeks, maybe a month. Then, life gets busy, and you watch it less and less. Eventually, you're not really using it at all, but the charge keeps coming. Every month. Quietly. In the background. And because it's automated, because you don't have to actively decide to pay it each month, your brain stops registering it as a spending decision. It just happens. Like electricity, like a cost of existing, and you stop questioning it entirely. Studies suggest the average person underestimates their monthly subscription costs by over 100%. People think they're spending around $80 a month on subscriptions. The real number is typically over $200. That's not because people are lying. It's because subscriptions are designed to be invisible. Autopay is the greatest psychological trick in the history of consumer spending. Think about every service you've autopaid for in the last 6 months: streaming, music, cloud storage, gym membership, news, food delivery pass, VPN, antivirus, that app you downloaded for a free trial and completely forgot to cancel. Individually, each one feels like nothing. $9.99 is basically rounding error. But together they can easily be $150, $200 a month. Every single month, money that leaves your account without you ever consciously deciding to spend it. And subscriptions are just one category. We haven't even gotten to the rest yet. Here's something I want you to sit with for a second. You've probably tried budgeting before. Maybe you downloaded an app. Maybe you made a spreadsheet. Maybe you wrote down your income and your bills and told yourself that this month, this time, you were going to be disciplined. You were going to track everything. You were going to stick to it. And then you didn't. Or you did for a week, and then life happened, and you missed a few entries, and then the data looked wrong, and then the whole thing felt pointless, and you quietly abandoned it. Sound about right? Here's why that happens. And it's not because you're weak. It's because budgeting, as most people practice it, is cognitively exhausting in a way that is completely unsustainable. Your brain makes thousands of decisions every single day. What to eat, what to wear, how to respond to that email, how to handle that conversation at work. By the time evening hits, your brain is tired. Decision fatigue is real. It's been documented extensively in psychology research. And budgeting, the way it's traditionally taught, requires you to make a conscious financial decision about every single purchase you make. That's hundreds of extra decisions added to an already overloaded system. No wonder people quit. No wonder the spreadsheet gets abandoned. It's not laziness, it's cognitive overload. Traditional financial advice also tends to focus on the big, obvious stuff. Make your own coffee, pack your lunch, cancel one subscription. And look, those things aren't wrong, but they miss the point entirely. Because the problem isn't any one specific expense. The problem is the system, or rather, the complete lack of a system. The problem is that most people have zero visibility into where their money is actually going. And you cannot solve a visibility problem with willpower. You just can't. Willpower is finite. Visibility is a system. And systems win every time. Here's the core insight I want you to take from this video. Write it down if you want to. You don't have a spending problem, you have a visibility problem. That's it. That's the whole thing. Let me say it again, because I want it to land properly. You don't have a spending problem. You have a visibility problem. Most people who feel like they can't save money are not reckless. They're not irresponsible. They're not blowing money on wild, obvious luxuries. They're just not seeing where their money goes. And when you can't see something, you can't control it. When your expenses are invisible, automated, habitual, below your psychological radar, you have no power over them. You can't make good decisions about things you're not aware of. This is so important because the narrative most people carry around is "I'm just bad with money." And that narrative is crushing. It makes you feel like the problem is your character, your discipline, your worth as a person. But that's not the problem. The problem is a design flaw in the system around you. Digital payments, automatic billing, one-click purchasing. All of these are brilliant for convenience, and they are absolutely devastating for financial awareness. They're designed to remove friction. And friction, annoying as it feels, is what makes you pause, what makes you think, what makes you decide. Remove the friction, and you remove the decision. And when you remove the decision, you lose control. But here's the good news. Once you understand this, once you accept that your money isn't disappearing because of some character flaw, but because of invisible systems you haven't examined, you can fix it. Not by becoming a different person, not by white-knuckling your way through a rigid budget, just by making the invisible visible. That's all. That's the fix. Visibility. Okay, let's get specific, because invisible spending sounds abstract until I break down exactly what it looks like in your real, actual life. There are 4 main categories of hidden expenses. And I promise you, you have at least 2 of these going on right now. The first, one we've already touched on: subscriptions. But let me go deeper, because the subscription economy has become genuinely insane. Think about how subscriptions have evolved. 10 years ago, subscriptions were for magazines and Netflix. That was it. Now everything is a subscription. Your software, your games, your music, your TV, your news, your fitness app, your meal planning service, your storage, your VPN, your password manager, your photo editing tool, your meditation app that you opened twice and then forgot about. Companies have figured out that a $9.99 monthly charge is dramatically easier to get past your brain than a $120 annual fee. Even though they're the same amount, the monthly version sneaks under your threshold. The annual one would make you think twice. And there's something else about subscriptions that makes them particularly sneaky. The decoupling of payment from usage. When you pay for something in the moment, you hand over money, you get the thing. There's a direct connection between spending and receiving. But with subscriptions, you pay once a month and then use it, or don't use it, whenever. The payment loses its relationship to the value. You forget you're paying for it, and you stop evaluating whether you're actually getting anything out of it. Go right now, seriously. After this video, go through your last 2 or 3 bank statements and circle every recurring charge. Every single one. I'd bet good money there's at least one in there you've completely forgotten about. Probably more. The second category is convenience spending. And this one has exploded in the last 5 years in a way that is absolutely wrecking people's finances. I'm talking about delivery apps, ride shares, grab-and-go meals, the premium option that saves you 20 minutes, the coffee you picked up because you were already late and didn't have time to make it at home. None of these feel like real spending. That's the thing. Convenience spending doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like a necessity. I didn't have time. It was just easier. It was only a few dollars. But let's do some honest math here. If you use a delivery app 3 times a week, which is actually pretty conservative for a lot of people, you're probably spending somewhere between $20 and $35 per order after delivery fees, service fees, and tips. 3 times a week, that's potentially $60 to $100 a week, around $300 to $400 a month, just in delivery. Just from those 3 orders a week that felt like nothing. The coffee math gets talked about so much it's become a cliche. But let me do it differently. It's not about the coffee. It's about the habit infrastructure around the coffee. The coffee itself? Sure, $5 or $6. But then there's the $4 pastry you grabbed because you were hungry. And then the snack you bought later in the day at the convenience store. And then the second delivery because you couldn't be bothered to cook dinner. These things don't happen in isolation. They're part of a convenience ecosystem. And that ecosystem, left unexamined, can cost you $500, $600, even $800 a month. The third category is digital spending. And this is the one that has completely snuck up on the current generation. We are the first generation that grew up with microtransactions, in-app purchases, one-click Amazon ordering, digital downloads, and the ability to spend money without ever touching anything physical. And our brains are not equipped for it. Digital spending is uniquely dangerous because it removes almost every psychological barrier to spending that naturally exists. When you buy something in a physical store, there's friction. You have to go there, you have to pick it up, you have to carry it to the register, you hand over a card or cash. You wait. All of those little steps give your brain time to evaluate the purchase. But online, one click, done. You barely registered it. You're already on to the next thing. Amazon has made this into an art form. One-click ordering. Prime. Same-day delivery. They have systematically removed every possible moment of hesitation. And the result is that people buy things they absolutely don't need at a scale that would have seemed absurd 20 years ago. Not because they're impulsive people, because the system has been engineered to bypass your decision-making. Then there are in-app purchases, mobile games especially. They're free to play, that's how they get you through the door. And then inside the game, they offer you tiny upgrades, extra lives, special characters, a little boost. Each one is 99 cents or $1.99 or $2.99. Nothing. Chump change. But if you're playing a game regularly and buying these little boosters here and there, those micro purchases can quietly add up to $40, $50, even $100 a month, without you ever consciously deciding to spend real money on a game. And digital shopping, social media especially, has become a shopping pipeline more than a social platform. You're scrolling Instagram or TikTok, and you see something, a product, a limited offer, a deal. The link is right there. It's seamless. You don't even have to leave the app. You buy it in 30 seconds without really thinking about whether you wanted or needed it. It just looked interesting in the moment. And now it's yours. And the money is gone. The fourth category is lifestyle creep. And this is the sneakiest of all, because it doesn't feel like spending at all. It feels like growing up. It feels like progress. Here's how it works. You get a raise, or you land a better job, or your side hustle starts doing well, your income goes up, and your lifestyle quietly, gradually follows it upward. You upgrade your apartment, you start eating at nicer restaurants, you trade the budget gym for the fancy one. You fly direct instead of with a layover. You buy the better version of things. Each individual upgrade feels earned, justified. After all, you're making more money now. You should be able to enjoy it. But here's the math problem. Your income went up by, let's say, $1,000 a month, but your lifestyle crept up by $900 a month. So you're only keeping $100 more than you were before the raise. Your savings rate barely moved. You feel like you're doing well because you're earning more, but the gap between what you earn and what you spend has stayed almost exactly the same. Sometimes it even shrinks. People who earn $100,000 a year can be just as financially stressed as people who earn $40,000 because lifestyle creep is relentless and silent. Lifestyle creep is dangerous because it's cumulative and almost entirely invisible in the moment. You don't notice any individual upgrade as a major financial decision. But when you zoom out and compare your lifestyle now to what it was 3 years ago, before the raises and the promotions, you might be shocked by how much more you're spending and how little of that increase you actually saved. Let me tell you about Alex. Alex is 27, works in marketing, makes $58,000 a year. Not rich, but not struggling by any objective measure. Alex has been living in the same city for 4 years and genuinely cannot figure out why, after 4 years of working full time, they have less than $3,000 in savings. It makes no sense. They don't have expensive taste, they don't party lavishly, they're not impulsive, at least not in ways they can identify. So Alex and I sit down and go through their actual bank statements. Not what Alex thinks they spend, what they actually spend. And here's what we find: subscriptions, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Spotify, iCloud storage, a gym membership Alex uses maybe once a month, a meal kit service that used to be great, but now Alex mostly cancels the deliveries anyway, Adobe Creative Cloud from a freelance project 2 years ago, a news subscription, and a meditation app. Total $187 a month. Alex thought it was around $70. Delivery 3 to 4 orders a week. Average $28 per order after fees. Monthly delivery spending approximately $400 to $450. Alex had no idea. It felt like just ordering dinner sometimes. In-app purchases and digital shopping, around $60 to $80 a month. Little things here and there, mostly forgotten. Convenience purchases throughout the day, coffee, snacks, quick lunches out because there was no time to meal prep. Roughly $200 a month. Lifestyle creep since starting this job. The apartment is $350 more expensive than Alex's last place. The gym is $40 more than the old one. Going out for drinks on weekends is more frequent and at nicer places. Clothes are from slightly better brands now. Estimated lifestyle creep total around $600 a month compared to 4 years ago. Total invisible spending Alex wasn't fully aware of. Roughly $1,400 to $1,500 a month. Alex earns about $3,800 a month after tax. Fixed costs, rent, utilities, transport, are about $1,700. That leaves about $2,100, and $1,400 to $1,500 of that was going to invisible expenses, leaving $600 to $700 a month, in theory, which then went to various other things, and somehow nothing was being saved. Somehow the bucket was empty. Once Alex could actually see it, once those invisible expenses had names and numbers, the whole thing stopped being a mystery. It became a solvable problem. Not easy, necessarily, but solvable. Visible. Now let me tell you about Jordan. Different situation, different lesson, but same root cause. Jordan is 31, makes good money, around $85,000 a year, has a nice apartment, decent car, goes on 2 or 3 trips a year. By most external measures, Jordan is doing well. But Jordan has this persistent nagging anxiety about money. There's never quite enough in the account. There's never the sense of security that should come with earning $85,000 a year. And Jordan has no idea why. What Jordan doesn't realize is that the lifestyle upgrade that happened 3 years ago, better apartment, better car, better everything, consumed nearly all of the income increase from 2 promotions. Jordan's salary went from $62,000 to $85,000 over 3 years. That's $23,000 more a year, or about $1,900 more per month after tax. But the apartment upgrade was $600 more a month. The car payment is $400 a month that didn't exist before. Dining and entertainment spending went up by about $500 a month. Subscriptions expanded. Travel spending increased. Total lifestyle creep, approximately $1,700 to $800 a month. Out of the $1,900 increase in take-home pay, Jordan essentially got 2 promotions and spent almost every dollar of both of them before they even landed in the account. And because it happened gradually, each upgrade feeling reasonable and earned at the time, Jordan never saw it. 3 years later, Jordan earns $23,000 more a year and feels just as financially anxious as before. Maybe more so, because the expectations that come with this lifestyle are higher. The invisible thing here isn't individual purchases. It's the cumulative effect of dozens of small upgrades over time, the lifestyle that crept upward without anyone deciding it should, and the savings rate that stayed essentially flat while the income climbed. Both Alex and Jordan are smart people. Both are working hard. Neither of them saw this happening. Because you can't see what's invisible. Okay, here's where we fix it. And I want to be really clear about something. I'm not going to give you a complicated system. I'm not going to tell you to download 17 apps and track every penny. I'm going to give you something simple, sustainable, something that works with your brain instead of against it. It all starts with what I call the visibility rule. The rule is simple. Before you can control your money, you have to see your money. All of it, clearly, without hiding from it. The visibility rule says that once a week, you sit down with your finances for 15 minutes. Not to judge yourself, not to feel bad, just to look, just to know what's actually happening. Here's the thing about financial anxiety, and I say this with a lot of empathy because almost everyone does this. Most people avoid looking at their finances when they're stressed about money. The account balance feels threatening, so you just don't check it. The bank statements feel overwhelming, so you scroll past them, and this avoidance, as natural as it feels, makes everything worse. Because when you don't look, your brain fills the uncertainty with anxiety. When you do look, even when the numbers aren't great, you replace anxiety with information. And information is power. You can work with information. You can't work with dread. So, once a week, 15 minutes, sit with your numbers. That's the foundation. The second piece is the subscription audit. This is not optional. This is the thing you should do this week, as soon as you finish watching this video. Pull up your last 2 months of bank and credit card statements. Highlight every single recurring charge. Anything that appears more than once, anything that's automatic. Make a list, assign each one a score of 0 or 1. 0 means you genuinely not miss it if it disappeared tomorrow. 1 means you actually use and value it. Every 0 on that list is money you're currently handing to a company for essentially nothing. Cancel them. Today, if possible. This single exercise can easily save $50, $100, even $200 a month. Money you're currently spending without getting anything back. The third piece is something I call the 2-4-hour rule, and it's specifically for digital and convenience spending. The rule is this: for any non-essential purchase that isn't planned, you wait 24 hours before buying it. That's it. You see something online that looks cool, you close the tab, and you come back tomorrow. If you still want it tomorrow, fine. Buy it consciously and with intention. But you'd be amazed how many of those impulse purchases you simply forget about. The desire was never real desire. It was a moment of stimulation that your brain dressed up as desire. The 24-hour buffer gives the feeling time to pass. And most of the time, it does. For delivery specifically, because this is usually one of the biggest and most emotionally loaded expenses, I'm not going to tell you to never order delivery. That's not realistic. But try introducing just a little friction. Make a rule with yourself. Before you open the app, you check the fridge first. Not just glance at it, actually look. Actually think about what you could make, even if it takes more time, even if it's less appealing in the moment. Friction is your friend here. Just a little resistance can reduce your delivery spending by 30%, 40%, even more, without you feeling like you're depriving yourself. The fourth piece is the lifestyle check. Once every 3 months, not every week, not obsessively, sit down and compare your current spending to what it was a year ago. Not to judge the changes, just to see them. To make them visible. Did your spending go up? By how much? Did your income go up by the same amount? More? Less? If your lifestyle crept up faster than your income, you now know. And knowing is the first step to making intentional choices about it, instead of just drifting. Let me walk you through exactly what to do. Not vaguely, specifically. Today, right now, after this video, open your banking app or website. Look at the last 30 days of transactions. Don't overthink it, just look. You're not analyzing yet. You're just looking, getting familiar with the reality. This alone, this simple act of looking, starts to change your relationship with money. Then pull up your subscription list, go through every recurring charge, make your 0 or 1 list. Anything that scores 0, cancel it before you go to bed tonight, this week. Set aside 15 minutes, block it in your calendar if you need to, make it real, and do a proper spending review. Categorize roughly what you spent money on in the last month. Not perfectly. Roughly. You're looking for surprises. You're looking for the categories where the number is higher than you expected. Those are your holes. That's where the water has been leaking out. Once you know where the leaks are, you can decide which ones you want to plug. Not all of them necessarily. Some spending is intentional and good and worth it, but it should be a choice, not an accident. This month, start the 24-hour rule for non-essential purchases. Start the fridge check before opening the delivery app. Start your weekly 15-minute money review and make it a habit. Link it to something you already do. Maybe it's Sunday evening with a cup of tea. Maybe it's Monday morning before the work week starts. Attach it to something consistent and it'll stick. Going forward, revisit your subscriptions every 3 months, do the lifestyle comparison check quarterly. And every time your income increases, whether it's a raise, a bonus, a new job, make a conscious decision before the lifestyle creep begins about what percentage of that increase you're going to keep and save. Don't let the upgrade just happen automatically. Decide it intentionally, on purpose. Here's the mindset piece. And I think this might be the most important thing I've said in this entire video. Money doesn't disappear randomly. It goes somewhere. Every time. There's always a trail. And when it feels like money is just evaporating, when your balance is low and you can't explain why, the truth is that it went somewhere specific, to specific charges on specific dates for specific reasons. The problem isn't magic, the problem is visibility. And here's what changes when you actually see your money. You stop feeling like a victim of some mysterious financial force. You stop feeling like something is being done to you. You start feeling like someone who is making choices, even the ones you want to change. And that's a completely different relationship with money. When you're choosing consciously, even when you're choosing to spend on something that maybe isn't optimal, you're in control. You're the agent of your own financial story, not a passive passenger watching the balance drain. This matters psychologically more than any specific money hack I could give you, because the single most expensive belief most people carry is, I'm just bad with money. That belief is self-fulfilling. If you believe the problem is your character, you'll never fix a system. You'll just feel guilty, spend anyway, feel more guilty, and repeat. But when you understand that the problem is visibility, that the system around you was designed to make spending invisible and frictionless, you stop blaming yourself and start redesigning the system. You become a problem solver instead of a self-critic. And problem solvers make progress. Self-critics just suffer. You don't need a perfect budget. You don't need iron discipline. You don't need to give up everything that makes your daily life enjoyable. You need to see what's happening. You need to understand where your money goes. And once you can see it, once those invisible expenses have names and numbers and can't hide anymore, you get to decide what to keep and what to cut. You get to build a financial life that's intentional instead of accidental. You get to stop wondering where it all went. You opened your banking app, it was a Tuesday, and the number didn't make sense. But now, right now, after everything we've talked about, you understand something you didn't understand before. The money didn't disappear, it went to subscriptions you'd forgotten about, to delivery orders that felt like necessities, to digital purchases that barely registered, to a lifestyle that quietly expanded to fill every dollar you earned. None of those things happened to you randomly. They happened through systems that were designed to work without your attention. And now you're paying attention. That's everything. That's the whole shift. Attention, visibility, awareness. Your savings don't require you to become a different person. They don't require suffering or sacrifice or giving up every small pleasure. They require you to see clearly, to make your money visible, to transform invisible spending into conscious choices, and then to make those choices deliberately on your own terms, based on what you actually value. You earn money, you work for it, you spend hours of your life creating it. You deserve to know where it goes. You deserve to decide where it goes. Not out of guilt, not out of fear, out of respect for yourself and the time you spent earning it. Start today. One subscription audit, 15 minutes with your bank statement. One honest look at the last 30 days. That's all it takes to begin. Not a perfect budget, not a total lifestyle overhaul. Just one honest look, because the moment you see it clearly, everything becomes possible. The moment the invisible becomes visible, you go from wondering where your money went to knowing exactly where it's going and choosing to send it somewhere better. That's it. That's the whole thing. You've got this.